Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and just maybe that cheeky notification bell too. Just look at it. The cheeky. I forgot what I gotta say next. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Significant Whales from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. Before we do get into the story, I do want to give you a warning that it talks about death, miscarriage within the story. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you so much. Now let's get started. The story is titled, Am I the Arsehole for not keeping my mother in the loop and depriving her of her grandchild? I, female 26, am 4 months pregnant with mine and my husband's, male 29, first children. We are having twins. We are both incredibly excited, but it is quite a high-risk pregnancy. So I've been taking it easy and we're trying to keep the information to ourselves until we know that I am and the babies are out of the woods. When I found out that I was pregnant, I put together a little gift box to give my husband and surprise him with the news. I put silly little things in the box like a world's best dad mug, a baby grow, and a baby book to track all the firsts. At the time, I did not know that I was having twins, so it was just one of everything in the box. The plan was that I would gift my husband the box when he arrived home from work and tell him that we were expecting. Everything went off without a hitch, and my husband was beside himself. We'd been trying for a while, and it was obviously quite an exciting moment. The next day, my mum, female 52, was visiting and snooped in my husband's home office under the guise of going to the bathroom while I was making lunch. She saw the box and all the contents and came flying out of the office like a bat out of hell, telling me that my husband was having an affair baby because he had a secret dad box. At first, I was so confused, but eventually cleared it up that I made the box because my husband and I were expecting. My mum was so excited and immediately tried to phone her best friend to tell her the news. I told her that I wanted to wait until I was at least 3 months before we started telling people, and I asked her to please keep the information to herself. Reddit. When I tell you that the whole community knows, it is because my mum told everyone with a caveat that they also keep the secret. It is like middle school, and it is driving me crazy. Now my mum is bugging me about information from doctor's appointments and I have not told her a word. I have not even told her that we're having twins or that it is high risk, but she insists that she should be privy to all the information as the baby's granny. She's also asked me to have her in the room with me when I give birth instead of my husband, which I quickly shut down. I'm just feeling so defeated. I'm just trying to rest, but I have constant nagging from my mum and all of her friends who claim they could not have told a soul either. My husband does his best to accept all the demands for information, but I'm starting to feel like it would be easier to just cave and tell my mum everything. Am I the arsehole for keeping the information to myself and not letting my mother be involved in the growth and development of her first grandbaby? Hope he also added that my mum sent me a text yesterday telling me that it is her right as a loving parent to know about her child and future grandchild's health. Any advice on how to manage the situation going forward would be greatly appreciated. This is always like the slippery slope towards no contact, isn't it? And basically what you have to remember is that she's making these choices. You asked her not to spread this information around. She ignored that. She went and spread it around. Now she's demanding more information because she thinks it's her right to your medical information for some reason, which it is not. And absolutely do not give her any more information. If you do this, it will only get worse. She'll think that she has a right to it. She will continue to think that she has a right to this information. The only thing that she has a right to is what you choose to tell her. That's it. She should feel honored that you gave her some information in the first place and absolutely respect your wishes to keep it to herself. And I'm sure if that was the case and she was actually being helpful and not a hindrance to you, you'd welcome her in and you would have given her more information, but she's choosing not to. She's choosing to be a hindrance to you right now. So don't give her any information and let her know what's going to happen going forward if she continues to press things like this, and especially the stupid comments at the same time. That she will eventually end up Low contact, no contact, with little information, all that stuff, in whichever order or whichever ones you want to do and feel comfortable with. And shit, I almost forgot. She was snooping around the office and then accused your husband of having an affair instantly like that. Unhinged behavior. Maybe low contact, no contact is right straight away. But nor east nor west says not the arsehole. Time to stop being nice. You lost that right when you did exactly what I asked you not to. Now back off. I will let you know when there's something to know and when I want to share it, and not before. Twisted Kitten says not the arsehole, and do not cave. She's disrespecting your boundaries you put down towards your pregnancy. If you cave for this, she will continue to do these sort of things and ignore any boundaries you try to put for your child. She may be the grandmother, but she has no rights to any information outside of what you provide her. I would suggest telling her and her friends that if they don't stop harassing you for information you clearly do not want to give, then you will go either low or no contact until they're all ready to apologize to you for their behavior. Cousin is Crazy replies that and says, I would suggest that OP put them all in a timeout for 2 weeks. Block them on everything. OP should tell them what she is doing and why, and that if their behavior does not dramatically improve after that 2-week break, she'll put them on timeout for the remainder of the pregnancy. Oh, and OP should not allow her mother in the house at all if she can't be trusted not to snoop. It's not just OP's privacy that's being violated, and OP has a duty to her husband not to allow her mother to behave that way without consequences. Murphy says not the arsehole. Don't give in. Don't even tell her when you go in for labor because she will ruin it for you. She will tell everyone about the babies before you can make an announcement. Lock it down at the hospital when you are there. Tell them they can't even tell people you are there. She'll post pictures online before you. Tell her one last time that you can't trust her with information, and if she continues to ask, you will block her number. I'm speaking from experience. My mum can't keep a secret to save her life, and use the excuse, I am their grandma, I can tell. Ah, damn, that reminded me of a story that happened with one of my friend's family. Basically, my friend's wife went into labor. Her mother-in-law turned up to meet the baby at the hospital. Sat down with the baby, got to hug it, all this good stuff, and got like father-in-law to take a picture of it with her sat with the baby on the lap. Mum said to the mother-in-law, please don't post it online just yet. I would like to be able to share the information myself on my own social media first. You know what's coming next, right? She shares the photo on Facebook with herself saying, oh, my first grandchild, blah, blah, blah. People were replying to mother-in-law saying, oh, congratulations, all this sort of stuff. And then mother-in-law is sharing details. Oh yeah, the labor went smooth and all this. She's healing well, like oversharing information. The excuse was, the child is my family too now. And of course now they all have a hugely rocky relationship. They do see each other. Grandma does get to see the kids, but it's a strained relationship. All because she couldn't respect someone else's wishes. And I just find that bizarre. Why would you do that? But OP came in with her first update and said thank you to everyone who helped me write down everything I wanted to say to my mum. Gave me some strength and support and told me that I should not cave under any circumstances. It felt good to have so many people in my corner, and it did help steel my resolve. I had a chat to my husband and we agreed that the two of us should meet my mum in a public place and have an actual chat about things, rather than just sending a text which she is very quick to dismiss. Unfortunately, this is not my first privacy-related issue with my mother, and she is very good at not seeing texts which address her behavior, but she cannot hide in a face-to-face setting. My husband and I met my mum at a local cafe this morning, and she was so excited to see us. I believe that she thought this was a meeting to give her everything she wanted and more. She started by saying that she and her friends have been planning a baby shower and would like to know the gender, which was actually the perfect segue into my pre-planned speech. It was quite long and emotional, but the main points were, I love you, and I'm really glad that you're so excited to be a granny, but I feel that you robbed husband and I of the chance to announce the pregnancy ourselves. I felt that it was inconsiderate to specifically go against what I had asked you, regardless of whether or not you think it was harmless. I felt that you crossed the line by A, snooping in my husband's office, and B, by making totally unfounded accusations of infidelity. Your actions have directly caused distress for myself and by extension the baby. She's still unaware of the fact that I'm having twins. We've had to have discussions about husband and I being entitled to our own privacy before. You have claimed that you will change, but we are now having the discussion again. So until you can prove that you are trustworthy, we'll be not sharing any news about the pregnancy or our lives as a whole. To say that my mum was unhappy would be an understatement, but she did not have much to say in the way of defending herself. Her main and pretty much only point was that she had shared the news because she was proud of me. She said that she meant no harm and cannot understand why I'm being so spiteful when her biggest crime is that she is excited to be a granny. In a bit of a dig at my husband, she claimed that I have never been like this until I met him, and that he has changed me for the worse. My husband just said, well, aren't people supposed to change as they get older? Unfortunately, there was no resolution, so husband and I left after saying what we had gone to say. We've also invested in some cameras to put up around the house and will be changing the locks as she has a key. After running some errands in town, my husband and I arrived home about an hour ago, hence why I'm writing the update now, and found a note taped to the front door. It was from my mum saying that she has put a curse on this house and on our marriage, and will only take it off once we reason and allow her to exercise her rights as a grandparent. While my mum has always had a strong belief in magic and dark magic, this is the first time she has ever done something like this to me. I don't believe in this stuff. No offense to anyone who does, but I did have a thorough search of the house afterwards and found a bunch of twigs, hair and herbs under mine and my husband's bed. I threw it away and we have a locksmith coming over soon. But both my husband and I feel that no contact is the best thing, at least until we have the babies. Wish us luck. OP's next update said I wanted to quickly write this as a final update to my last 2 or 3 posts, especially because everyone was so kind to send me messages and suggestions. I had some people offer for my husband and I to stay with them while we found a new house. I had lots of people with magic experience reach out to give me some information and the kind of curse my mother could have put on my husband, the babies, and I. I'm lying in a hospital bed as I write this, and I'm absolutely devastated to report that I have lost one of my babies. I suffered a rupture in the placenta and the doctors could only do so much. Maybe it would have been different if I had gone to the hospital earlier, but there was no bleeding as all the blood was trapped behind the rupture, so I didn't realize it was serious. It was only when I started experiencing pain instead of discomfort that I went to the hospital, but by then it was too late. My wonderful husband has not left my side during everything, and I am beyond grateful for his love and support. I do not know what I would do without him. My mother-in-law and father-in-law have flown in to support us, and we've collectively decided that once I am well enough to travel, my husband and I will relocate to be closer to my in-laws. My husband is an immigrant and has no ties to the area we live in. My only tie was my mum, and I will get to her in a second. But I'm ready to go somewhere safe and loving. While I lie here typing this, my mother-in-law is on the phone to an immigration agent to make sure there are no visa requirements for me to relocate permanently. As for my mother, she suffered a heart attack about a week ago on my front lawn. Since the cursing incident, she was over at our house, but not let in, at least 3 times a week, begging for forgiveness. I say forgiveness because she did not specify any incident, and she has never said the words "I am sorry." She would just yell that she has been a bad mum and that I had deserved better. It drove me absolutely bonkers to have her yelling on our front lawn about how much she loves her baby and realizes she wasn't a perfect role model, because it felt like a guilt trip more than anything else. The night of the heart attack, my husband and I were out with friends and come home to find my mum unconscious on the lawn. I immediately called emergency services, and they confirmed that she was dead as soon as they arrived. It had been a really tough time, because despite everything, she was still my mum, my only surviving blood relative. Everything has been a bit much recently, and I'm looking forward to a fresh start. I will do everything I can to make sure that my surviving baby grows up in a home surrounded by kindness. My husband and I are just human, and we will make mistakes, but I want my baby to always know what it feels like to be loved. In a strange way, my mother-in-law have formed a bond that is stronger than my bond with my biological mother had ever been. I'm so grateful to have her in my life. She is stern, but has been everything I could have asked for. I've cried in her arms more times than I would like to admit. My father-in-law, on the other hand, is a bit gruff and not one for words, but he holds my hand every time my husband leaves the room or a doctor walks in. and I'm so grateful for that small gesture of support. Despite everything around us at the moment, the 5 of us, husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, baby and I, have found solace in each other. I'm so grateful for my little family. This will be my final update, but please wish us luck on our journey together. Holy moly, that really escalated towards the end there. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Practical Buy from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, Am I the arsehole here for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home? My female 48, husband male 46, and I have a 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, who is currently on vacation from college. About 5 months or so ago, Ellie told us that she had a new boyfriend who I'll call Tom. This came rather out of the blue as Ellie hadn't mentioned seeing anyone or that she was dating, but both my husband and I were supportive and happy for her. However, Ellie was strangely secretive about the whole situation. Usually she's an open book, especially with me, would always share details of her personal life. On this occasion, she wouldn't show any pictures. We knew next to no information about Tom, other than they met at a party through a mutual friend. Ellie spent the past month of her vacation in her college town, and the plan was always for her to come back this weekend. Ellie asked if she could bring Tom with her for a few days of the trip as they were getting serious, and she wanted him to meet us. Although we mentioned that we knew barely anything about him, Ellie expressed that it would be a surprise and that we'd love him. Given he's clearly an important part of our daughter's life, we agreed and said we look forward to spending the weekend together. Yesterday morning, we went to pick up Ellie and Tom from the airport to drive them to our place, and we were shocked. We knew instantly that Tom was much older than Ellie, and he certainly wasn't a college student. I was just in a state of surprise but didn't want to cause a scene, and told my husband to do the same. We drove home, but it was a frosty journey, which Ellie commented on. When we arrived, my husband point blank asked Tom how old he was. Tom said he was 44. I was immediately disgusted. He's only 2 years younger than my husband and old enough to be Ellie's father. My husband continued to interrogate him, asking how they met and the whole background. Ellie explained that it was a party and Tom was there because he's well known around the town, and they realized they had a lot in common, and it hit it off from there. I really didn't want to hear any more, and my husband told Tom to leave. Ellie shouted and said how unfair this was, and we hadn't even given Tom a chance, and that he made her happy. Tom could sense the tension, so left, and Ellie followed behind him. I text Ellie to tell her we'd love to see her and to come over to discuss the situation. She asked if Tom was welcome, and I said he wasn't, therefore labeling me a judgmental arsehole. She told me she wasn't coming, and that they'd be staying at a local hotel and catching up with friends. I feel terrible about the whole situation, and don't want to lose my daughter over it. My husband isn't budging and says it'd have to be held back if he ever saw that man again. Am I the arsehole for saying he isn't welcome, or have I done the right thing? Leading Summer says, I was your daughter once, nearly the same age gap with the guy I was dating. The absolute best thing my parents did was keep the lines of communication open between us, because as the guy started to systematically cut me off from all the other people in my life, when I finally went to cut bait, it was my parents who stepped out to catch me. OK Play says, you sure he wasn't one of her professors? Maroongrad says, play the long game here. Best story I have heard. The dad befriended the guy. They talked about stuff relevant to their age group, did dad age stuff together, talked about things like insurance and retirement and house payments, went to eat at boring grown-up places instead of sports bars, and just generally acted like middle-aged men. She realized she was basically dating her father. They had almost nothing in common and broke up. Why did my Reddit brain immediately go, and then the dads got together? God damn it, Mark. And I think I got to agree with Leading Summer there. I mean, I've seen situations in these stories before, and I've actually seen a couple like these. I've actually seen one of these in real life as well. And that if you continue to target her partner in any way, she's just going to continue to resent you and eventually push you away, possibly to the point of no contact. And you know, that would be the disaster, because when she eventually does cut off this guy, she's got no support to fall back on, when ultimately you want them to turn to you. But OP came in with an update and says, first off, I wanted to thank everyone for their comments and messages yesterday. I was overwhelmed with the responses and didn't expect my post to gain so much attention. I know opinions were quite split, but I appreciate everyone for being honest. Please accept my apologies for not responding to anyone. There's been a lot on my mind, so I thought it'd be best to provide an update for those interested. For those who haven't read the whole post, a brief summary is my 20-year-old daughter Ellie brought home her boyfriend of 5 months, Tom, to our house. Tom happens to be 44, and my husband and I told Tom he wasn't welcome in our home. Ellie and Tom are currently staying in a nearby hotel. I was incredibly down throughout most of Sunday. I spoke to my husband and said that I really wanted to see Ellie. However, I knew that wouldn't be possible without also seeing Tom. So I mentioned to my husband about meeting Ellie and Tom at a neutral location for brunch today. I asked my husband if he wanted to join, but he said he didn't feel in the right frame of mind at this stage. So we agreed that I would go alone. I was anxious throughout the drive, but when I met Ellie, those nerves subsided relatively quickly. I was generally just happy to see her and that she was well. I still felt a bit uncomfortable around Tom, but I thought this was the opportunity to find out more about him and his intentions, as it were. We sat down and I tried to find out as much information about Tom as possible. When I asked him to elaborate on being known around a college town and being at the same party as Ellie, Tom said he used to go to the same college when he was Ellie's age, loved the place and decided to never leave. Throughout his time, he still frequented the main bars and places that college students do, which meant he remained in the community in some form. I found it quite an unsettling response, but remained polite. In terms of other details I learned, Tom has never been married, nor does he have any children. He works as a software engineer and enjoys cooking and meditation in his spare time. Something felt off about him, but I maybe already had my preconceptions. Ellie spoke more about what a good match they were and how much in common they had. When I asked her to elaborate, she spoke how they both love the same spots around town and campus, which apparently the same love of sushi, and she's never met someone so mature and understanding. Tom also said that Ellie was perfect for him and he was serious. I probed if he had many other relationships with younger women. Ellie didn't enjoy this question, but Tom said that he generally didn't do relationships, yet something about Ellie had drawn him in. Eventually, after about 2 hours, we ended the brunch. Ellie said how nice it had been, and she was so happy I'd shown an interest in Tom before asking whether they could both come to dinner some evening. I told her that would be nice, but I would have to speak to her dad. Tom shook my hand and that was that. My husband remains reluctant, but I feel it's the right thing to do if we want to maintain a relationship with Ellie. I didn't like Tom off of first impressions, and this hasn't done much to convince me. Something is just off there, and some of his answers solidified my thoughts about him not being right for Ellie. I suppose I'll have to remain open-minded, but appreciate any thoughts. You're gonna have to call me out if this sounds wrong, but he still frequented the main bars and places that college students do? Anyone else creeped out by that? That feels a bit odd to me. Red flags. Lynn Lugg says please make sure she's on reliable birth control. Web Informal says rejecting him outright is probably not going to change her mind, but could leave her more vulnerable to isolation. I think you're making a good choice, although I'm sure it's tough. Annabelle says, the fact his favourite spots are where college students hang out is such a red flag. He's stuck in a frat boy mentality and never grew up. I can only hope your daughter sees this sooner than later and that the dude's a total creep. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you found yourself in this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.